With The Last of Us Remake due to come out in about a month or so, and all the news surrounding the leaked footage and the developer diary highlighting all the different little changes they're going to make to the game, I figured this would be a perfect time for me to play a little catch-up. It'd been about 4 years since I'd last played the game, and I had yet to play Part 2. I picked it up not that long ago for about $18 and it's just been sitting there collecting dust. And after having played through the game, and about halfway through Part 2, the only thing I could say about this remake is, why? Now, a lot of the work that the developers will be doing to this remake have to do with overall graphical improvements and presentation, improving the engine to match that of Part 2, adding a lot of touches to the physics engines and particle effects, all that fancy PS5 stuff, doing some haptic stuff, 3D sound. That's what I've gathered from what I've heard about what the improvements will be. This is all fine. However, I don't feel it's actually necessary. The remake on the PS4 still looks incredible. Admittedly, some of the textures, especially in the backgrounds, do look like they were originally from the PS3. But all in all, this isn't something you really notice as you play the game, unless you're really nitpicky about these sorts of things. I don't feel this game really does need a graphical update. For me, the most noteworthy addition to the remake is the implementation of the accessibility options from The Last of Us Part 2. I feel like these features should be in every game, because the more people could play these games, the better it is for the industry at large. However, graphically, I have to be honest, there were times I was looking at the developer diary video and I couldn't tell whether or not I was looking at the PS4 remaster or the new footage from the remake. Where it does need work, however, is in the gameplay. The Last of Us Part 1 is a 2013 game, and a lot of times it very much plays like one. We all know about the ladders, we all know about the trash cans, terrible puzzles, and it's not like Part 2 is somehow not guilty of this, but now they've replaced the ladders with ropes. Oh my god, innovation. However, both of these games do share the same overall gameplay loop. Any combination of walk somewhere, cutscene, action set piece. And these action set pieces are so very obvious. You walk somewhere, and you could just tell by the level layout that there's about to be something going down. You see some bottles scattered around, or you'll see some chest-high walls that basically scream, "You better be careful, someone's about to shoot at you." And all of this has just not aged very well. The shooting is very generic. The melee is horrible. Now, Part 2 has made some great improvements overall with this, adding the prone mechanic, the dodge button, the shooting is much tighter. But these are not things that could just be easily implemented into Part 1 without completely restructuring the game. And it's not as if Part 2 doesn't have some of these flaws as well. There's some rooms where I just knew I'm about to get into a shootout. Maybe not immediately, but eventually. This is definitely an action room. But overall, Part 2 definitely plays a lot tighter than Part 1. They could add the dodge mechanic, and that would definitely improve some of the set pieces and that terrible mash button melee combat. But from what I've heard, they're not going to. So this remake is essentially a paint job. A $70 paint job, mind you. They're charging full price for this, like if it's a brand new game. And my question is, are these improvements going to justify that price? Is updating the graphics engine and adding haptic feedback and 3D audio going to improve this experience significantly enough to warrant that price? I don't think so. Quite frankly, The Last of Us Part 2 didn't change the core gameplay loop so much to where adding those elements into the original would improve this game significantly anyway. That game was mostly an iteration of the original. On top of that, the PS4 remaster already looks fantastic and plays more than well enough for what it is. If it were maybe 40, 50 bucks, I'd definitely be on board. But charging full price like it's a new game for a re-release of a re-release just doesn't make any sense to me. Now don't get me wrong, I know this game is mostly about story and presentation, and I could see how some people would definitely consider these improvements worth it. But for me, they are charging way too much for not enough.